Armagon is a half-biological, half-machine creature from both the medieval and technological realm. Structurally, he resembles a huge robot war machine, armed with rapid-fire missile launchers. Don't get too close because he'll switch to lasers for a little precision target practice on you.
Armagon is Quake's general and master of this realm. He replaced Shub Nigarath as the leader of its creatures when she was destroyed by Ranger. Armagon's master plan is to open the rift and destroy all life on Earth. Armed with dual laser cannons and dual rocket launchers, which he fires in very quick succession, he might at first look like a formidable foe, but he can quickly become easier to defeat once you understand how he operates. Cover will be your best friend, as he can one-shot you very quickly. His appearance is the subject of speculation, as he closely resembles a Scrag. Scourge of Armagon was released in February 1997, while Quake 2 was released in December of the same year, making their development timelines relatively close. However, Scourge of Armagon was developed by Hypnotic Interactive, which later became Ritual Entertainment, so it's unclear if they were aware of Quake 2's story and created Armagon to resemble a Scrag, or if it's just a coincidence. Some people speculate that Armagon and the Centroid were prototypes made by the Elder Gods before creating the Scrag. Others believe that Armagon was captured by the Scrag during one of their incursions into the Dreamland and was then brought back to Strogos to be Strogified.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
These armor-plated, techno-advanced scorpion creatures are huge and pissed. They carry dual nail guns for claws to get your attention, but get too close and you'll have a stinger in your face.
They are very aggressive from a distance and deadly at close range due to their tail, which can turn you into a pogo very quickly. Able to dodge projectiles and unleash relentless fire, their design is unique as there aren't many robot-like creatures throughout the game. Similar speculation can be made about this creature, as with Armagon, marking them as potential Strogification experiments by the Scrag.
Get over here!
The demon of fire and darkness, the master of the underworld. In the Cthulhu mythos, Chthon was created by Marvel Comics as one of the Elder Gods. He devoted his time to studying the universe's dark, mystical forces and that which should not exist, becoming the first master of black magic on the planet. His depiction in the comic diverges from the one in Quake. From a shadowy, alien-like creature, he is now shown as a monster of lava. His name translating to Earth in ancient Greek, he previously ruled the dimension of the doomed before being exiled to the dimension of the machine. He throws molten rock that are slow but deals excessive amount of damage. This bastard can't die, but a couple of electric shocks will temporarily get rid of him until he finds another way to come back and rule over another realm. His fate after his defeat in the dimension of the machine is unknown. Since it was stated that Vadrigas can't die, he must have retreated somewhere, either inside or outside the dimension.
You'll be back.
This particular canned meat tends to open you up instead.
The Death Knight, aka the Super Shotgun Sponge, is an imposing figure. He was originally named Hell Knight, then changed in-game to Death Knight, but remained in the game files with his original name. Recent iterations reveal a contraption on his torso containing fire, explaining his ability to hurl 6 fireballs from a distance. Facing one is manageable. 2 become tricky. More is sheer cruelty. They become even deadlier in confined spaces or when accompanied by other types of enemies, but will also cause some interesting case of infighting. A story was provided in Quake Champions, though it's unclear whether it regard a single Death Knight entity, implying that each Death Knight we encounter has its own story, or if he is considered a single entity that has been replicated. His tale is dark, portraying from the beginning an unstable man who loves violence and war. His chief was murdered by a madman, pushing the Death Knight to vow to embark on a war campaign until all people on the isle they were attacking are vanquished. It is unclear how the Death Knight came into contact with eldritch power, but the madman likely played a pivotal role, perhaps himself possessed by eldritch forces. Engulfed in madness, the Death Knight returned home to tell his pregnant wife he would be going on a long war campaign. When she insisted he stay, wanting him to be present for their children, and saw that he was clearly unwell, he murdered her, unwilling to be bound by family duties. He left his house, muttering incomprehensible eldritch words. The voices in his head grew stronger as he lay waste on the isle until they led him to a yew tree where he ate its poisonous fruit and became the Death Knight, bound to an eternal life of war and serving his new master, Shub Nigarath.
I'm a Death Knight rider.
Everyone's been screaming for this enemy. He'll have you screaming too.
The dragon is encountered in Scourge of Evil, where it protects the temporal energy converter. Existing since the early screenshot releases, the dragon was one of the most promoted aspects of Quake from 1995 until Q-Test, a Quake technology trial released on February 24, 1996. As Quake mostly focused on constrictive level design and couldn't handle wide open areas, the dragon was never completed. Despite rumors, John Romero confirmed that the dragon was designed to roam outside a map and occasionally swoop in to breathe fire at the player. To everyone's delight, 1 year later, the dragon was brought back as the final boss of the Dissolution of Eternity expansion. The original concept of the creature that would roam the maps was removed, keeping it for the end of the game only. The dragon breathes fire and lightning and can hit you with its tail. It is powerful, deals tons of damage, and has a massive amount of health. Fortunately, it can only attack what it sees, so staying behind it and attacking from the back is one of the best strategies. However, what makes this encounter truly challenging is its lair. Earthquakes cause you to bounce and move automatically. This wouldn't be a problem on its own, but the area is filled with lava pits, making it extremely dangerous.
Dragons!
These little guys are power-packed and more menacing than the Rotfish. Don't let its small size fool you. This eel packs a charge powerful enough to send you running back to Grandma's house.
What makes the aquatic creatures of Quake particularly dangerous is less about their individual threats and more about the treacherous environments they inhabit. These creatures deal more damage than the Rotfish, but can still be outswim pretty easily. However, attempting to eliminate them can plunge you into greater danger, as it eats away at the precious time you need to find an exit from the underwater areas. Ranger's breath-holding abilities are far from ideal, making prolonged underwater stays incredibly risky. To make matters worse, these creatures can block your path, costing you critical seconds and putting you at serious risk of drowning. This is also the case for the Rotfish. Never use your lightning gun when you're taking a bath with them. It will shock you how quickly you'll regret that decision.
Come on, show me that 1,000-watt smile.
Grunt, Mark II. Recruits who are surlier and beefier than the rest get outfitted in combat armor and built-in blasters.
They might have once been human, but now they are under the control of eldritch forces. Not very dangerous and only take a few shots to deal with, their lasers are slow and they get stunned easily. However, very useful as they often shoot at other monsters, causing infighting while you take care of the more dangerous targets. The Enforcer are the only enemies who say words instead of sounds. The appearance of this unit is intriguing. At first glance, it looks heavily armored, but upon closer inspection and listening to its sounds, it seems to be outfitted with a modified biosuit. This raises questions about its original purpose before he was possessed. We know that the Slipgate complex had large underground areas filled with water and toxic waste. Perhaps they were equipped with these suits to protect against the toxicity of the environment, or maybe they were used for incursions into the Dreamland in case the air might have been toxic.
In essence, organic buzzsaws, rife with pummeling power.
The Fiend resembles the Ghast, humanoid creatures that dwell in the vaults of Zin, often hunted by the Gugs. The Fiends have no eyes and don't need them, as their native realm is dim, humid, and horrific. These four-legged beasts use their claws to slash at targets. Additionally, they are very fast and can leap great distances, making them difficult to outrun. Do not use explosives. Your best bet is to keep moving. You can try to use their leap against them by positioning yourself so that they jump into holes or other difficult terrain. Their design is very interesting. They draw inspiration from multiple creatures, from monkeys to werewolves, and even have raptor-like abilities. While they are rare in the earlier levels, they become more common towards the end, often fought in groups and alongside other powerful enemies.
Clever girl.
These creatures travel in packs, attacking like a swarm of bees to steal your weapons and feast on the bodies of your slain enemies.
Those are annoying as Gremlins can steal almost all your weapons and use other monsters' corpses to spawn more of their kind. They attack by leaping at you and clawing. While not particularly dangerous on their own, their weapon stealing and spawning abilities can be a real pain, making them high-priority targets in encounters.
We're watching Snow White, and they love it.
Goons with probes inserted into their pleasure centers, wired up so when they kill someone, they get paroxysms of ecstasy. In essence, customized serial killers. Easy to kill, and they tote shotgun shells. It's like a little Christmas each time you blow a grunt away.
The grunts are not very dangerous individually, but can deal significant damage in large numbers, as they always hit their targets if they can see them when they fire. While they are said to have probes inserted into their heads, something nasty seems to be happening toward their sternum area as well. Originally, they were Marines sent to defeat the enemy leader, codenamed Quake, in Operation Counter-Strike. All those who were sent through were killed or possessed, leaving Ranger as the only survivor. Or so we thought. There was another one, Rack, a shell-shocked Slipgate war veteran. There's not much left of his former life, and what remains comes in bursts and flashes. He recalls training for something, and has memories of fighting large, nasty creatures. Both he and Ranger are now trapped inside the Dreamland.
Stationed in the past to execute Quake's evil plan. These demigods' surprising entrance will shock you.
Guardians are ancient warriors sent through time to execute Quake's plans for the dissolution of eternity. They are encountered 3 times as the Quake Guardian, Egyptian Guardian, and Quake's High Priest, each in a realm fitting the time they come from: Greek, Egyptian, and Aztec-like temples. Initially appearing alone, they quickly duplicate, allowing you to continue your path only if the original one is killed.
We're the guardians of the galaxy.
Hephistas is not only the Greek god of fire, but also of artisans, blacksmiths, carpenters, and craftsmen, essentially all forms of metalworking and craftsmanship, as well as volcanoes. In this realm, he takes on a familiar form, resembling a smaller version of Chthon, with a similar deadly projectile attack. Unlike Chthon, Hephistas appears not as a single entity, but as 4 separate beings. This could be interpreted differently. Perhaps it is a single entity that transfers its essence from one pool of lava to another each time it is defeated. Although not very dangerous if you keep moving, the narrow and confined areas where Hephistas is encountered significantly increase the threat. The limited space makes it a bit more challenging to dodge his projectiles, often forcing you dangerously close to the bubbling lava below.
A weapon such as this can't be rushed.
Canned meat. Open it up and see if it's still fresh.
Resembling a smaller version of the Death Knight, but lacking the ability to fire projectiles, this quick enemy attacks only in melee range. While not your highest priority target, they often die first as they quickly get in the way of your bullets.
We'll call it a draw.
Half cousins of the zombies, the mummy is a slow yet adamant foe. Your rockets will not be as effective whilst this undead horror saunters across the tombs and castles with only one thought on his rotting mind: brains with chocolate sauce.
Similar to the zombie, yet the mummy is much stronger and can take way more damage. However, unlike the zombie, it will not rise again once defeated. On its own, it is not very threatening, but the area where it is encountered pays homage to classic movies' old Egyptian tomb. It is claustrophobic and filled with traps and other undead monsters, making it very difficult to navigate.
Oh, I hate mummies.
What's worse than a cannibal monster 8 feet tall? One with a chainsaw and a sack of grenades.
Sandy Peterson revealed that the monsters in Quake were originally going to be more fantastical and technological, but the only remnant of this idea in the base game is the Ogre with his chainsaw. He is the enemy you'll encounter most frequently on the battlefield. When I think of the Ogre, the first thing that comes to mind is the stressful sound of his grenades bouncing everywhere. The beast has changed a lot from his original concept. Initially called the Axe Ogre, he was equipped with an axe and a shield, and would have been considered the lowest of the low. His behavior was, well, quite different. Like many other enemies, he's not too difficult to kill when alone. Yes, he requires a few shotgun blasts to take down, but he gets destabilized quickly. The real challenge comes from his grenades and the sheer number of ogres and other monsters present. They can bounce off walls and floors over considerable distances, making them hard to track and avoid amidst the chaos of the fight. Keep your distance, circle around him while firing, and, as a wise man once taught his apprentice, get the high ground. Those meatballs can't aim upward.
Turnabout is fair play, at least for the ogres, that is. Occasionally, you will find that these guys can toss a multi-grenade at you too. Although still dim-witted, the lowly minions of Quake have learned a thing or two since your last encounter.
These beasts never spawn in the same place, making them unpredictable. The major difference is their grenade launcher. If the original projectile doesn't hit an enemy after a few moments, it will split into several clusters of smaller grenades, creating multiple explosions.
This robed skeletal figure ominously floats with the environment. His attack? A ball of energy which tracks the player and detonates on impact. These are undead priests devoted to chaos. All 4 of his monstrous arms are tools of obliteration. Jump back into the crib. You're not ready for this.
The Overlord is the leader of the Wrath and replacement for Armagon as head of Quake's forces. After Shub Nigarath's death, the Overlord captured some of Earth's technology and builds a time machine to alter world history. Warriors from Earth attempted to stop him, but were possessed by the Overlord and turned into Quake's guardians. Ranger arrives in this new reality after defeating Armagon and starts one final journey to destroy the Overlord and his pet dragon. The Overlord resides in his tomb but will be encountered again as Ranger travels back in time.
Spawn more Overlords.
A disembodied spectral sword that will slash the player at many turns.
Swords hang on walls throughout the environment, merely serving as a warning of the invisible knight's presence. These knights will quickly acquire the weapons and relentlessly swing them at you until you kill them, causing the swords to drop to the ground.
Is that a flying sword?
Excalibur.
Disgusting little critters who dish it out, but can't take it.
Zombie fish that should not be eaten. They are figuratively and literally not a very large threat. It never truly felt like a significant danger for most of the game. Typically, they can be easily ignored as you swim towards the exit, allowing you to proceed without much trouble.
Fishy! Wake up! Wake up!
Bad, bad doggy. Play dead. Blam. Yipe. good dog.
When people say dogs are a man's best friend, well, this one didn't get the memo. They bite, they jump, and they want to play fetch with your flesh. They aren't very resilient, but they are quick, damned quick. Keep your distance and do not pet them.
I got a new dog!
Oh, you sure it's a dog?
Floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee, ugly as hell. They're not real tough, but like to bushwhack you.
Among the enemies with the most Lovecraftian appearance, the Scrag stands out as one of the few flying foes in the game. It achieves flight through the use of a gas bladder, a mechanism similar to what is found in certain fish on Earth. This concept relies on buoyancy, the force that allows objects to float and rise in a fluid, much like helium balloons or boats. The Scrag was originally called the Duke of Sheol, Sheol being the underworld place of stillness and darkness that lies beyond death. They spit poison that moves relatively slowly. They are not difficult to kill, but they tend to never stop moving and often get in the way of your attacks or close to you, making explosive weapons risky to use.
No, LeChum was scragged by a scrag.
Even other monsters fear him, so expect a clobbering. He shrugs off explosions. Good luck.
The Shambler feeds off the rifts in space-time created by other monsters, whatever that means. Their name comes from H.P. Lovecraft's mythos, referring to beings capable of walking between the planes and worlds of the cosmos. Specimens have been observed covered in fur that stands up when shooting lightning, but some individuals are found to be just covered in skin and muscle. He's big, he's fast, and he packs a ton of damage. If you manage to keep your distance, you'll quickly become familiar with his lightning bolt attack, which gives you only moments to find cover before it strikes. With the highest health among basic enemies, he feels like a mini-boss, taking only half damage from explosive weapons. He always seems to appear in the worst possible moments, often where cover is scarce or non-existent. This forces you to frantically search for a wall or column to hide behind before his lightning attack inflicts too much damage. A few interesting details were provided in Quake Champions. It is unknown if these are canon or were created merely for humor. First, it appears that the Shambler's arms can gather and shoot electricity even when separated from its body. The arm would need to maintain some level of neuromuscular function to operate independently. This could involve a decentralized nervous system or autonomous nerve cells within the arm itself, similar to an octopus. Second, a Shambler embryo smells as bad as the adult form. This also suggests that the Shambler could technically be classified as a mammal, given that they have fur and that there are female Shamblers that can secrete milk. Third, it is unknown if this applies to all monsters, but it seems the Shambler can transform into a spectre form after death. This ability may be linked to its origin of being capable of walking between the planes and worlds of the cosmos.
Welcome to the Himalayas!
Known as the Hell Mother, All Mother, and Witch Goddess, Shub Nigarath is the mother of all monsters that roam the dimensions of Quake. She used Dr. Wendell Gilman to create a slipgate capable of sending her monsters to invade Earth. Reaching the lair of this entity is no simple task. 4 runes, each one guarded by hordes of monsters, must be gathered to open the entrance. Shub Nigarath takes no damage from conventional attacks. The only way to kill her is by teleporting into her to telefrag her into obliteration. Ranger achieved this with the help of the Dire Orb, a spiked sphere floating in the entity's lair. Reaching that sphere was another challenge, as the path to the teleporter was blocked by the most powerful monsters in the game, Shamblers and Vores. It's unclear if Shub Nigarath was vanquished for good or if she survived and took refuge elsewhere to regain her power. While she bears the name of an old one from H.P. Lovecraft's work, this instance would be considered a Dark Young, a proxy representing the higher entity of Shub Nigarath. One of the original concepts of the game included more old ones, all imprisoned within dimensional prisons. Ranger's goal was to free these old ones by gathering freedom artifacts. At the end of the game, Ranger would face Shalrath, who was originally a Vore, the one who imprisoned all the old ones. Eventually, Shalrath's true form would be revealed as Shub Nigarath.
A pile of letters for a pile of tentacles.
a merrily bouncing blob as dangerous to kill as to ignore. Blech.
Oh god. Okay, so, the Spawn, also known as the f***ing sack of shit, is one if not the most hated enemy in the game. His depiction was influenced by the formless spawn from Sandy Peterson's Guide to Monster. They're associated with the worship of Tsatogwa, an old one with a head resembling a monstrous toad. In Quake, its bites are weak, but the real problem appear when you kill it. You need to shoot it from a distance, but this is rarely possible as they can leap great distances. Sound dangerous on its own? Wait until they call in the squad. Your best bet is to make them explode while they are in a large group, creating a chain reaction. Just don't be in the blast radius. They are found only in the Elder World theme levels. John Romero stated, "We came up with him later on and he was so tough that we couldn't use him too much."
I fucking hate clowns.
Floating mines of flesh and steel that wander the levels and unleash a devastating shower of spikes when in proximity of a player. If you keep your eyes on the mine, they will charge at you slower, but turn your back and they will destroy you. Use the spike mines to your advantage by leading them into other creatures.
They look eerily similar to the projectiles that the Vore shoots. They have the annoying habit of appearing out of nowhere, catching you off guard while you are busy with other enemies. Explosive damage doesn't affect them much, but they can be easily destroyed with a nail gun shot.
All right? You boys are in a minefield.
They're poised to take you out.
While looking different, there are ultimately two variants. The first identical to a knight, and the second identical to a death knight. Initially, they appear as simple scenery, but if the player presses a switch or opens a door, they will come to life and attack.
I've always wanted to use that spell.
A spider-esque hybrid horror. Keep your eye on the energy pod he hurls.
Encounters with these tough monsters feel like boss fights. They are spider-like creatures with 3 legs, 2 arms, and a head with no visible eyes. They throw violet spiked pods that constantly track their target until they hit something, exploding and causing significant damage. More than once you'll run away, only to turn and see those spike balls following you like homing missiles. And yes, the Vore shoots them at a relatively high rate. The single projectile you see is often a mass of them, just waiting to hit you and kill you in one burst. The worst part? They never vanish. If you don't make them collide with a wall or another enemy, they will find you, and they will kill you.
Whatever you do, never look back!
Be wary of their destructive projectiles, as they have a sick tendency to play follow the leader. Wraths are known to follow their Overlord commanders.
The Wrath's projectile is a red spiked ball that homes in on the player, much like the Vore's purple energy pod. However, it moves considerably faster than the Vore's projectile, making it impossible for the player to outrun. Upon death, the Wrath's body crumples and then explodes a moment later, giving you barely any time to move back. This creates difficult situations if you are stuck in a closed space or immobilized by enemies. The Wrath is possibly inspired by the disciple of Disparil from Heretic, which shares a similar appearance, magic attack, levitation, and hazardous explosion when killed.
Feel my wrath.
Thou canst not kill that which doth not live, but you can blast it into chunky kibbles.
What you see is what you get. Ugly and slow, when they aren't used as decoration, they tear chunks of flesh from their bodies and throw them at you. They don't have a lot of health nor deal much damage, but you can't kill what's already dead. No matter how many bullets you put into them, they will always rise back. The only way to take care of them is to make them explode. Can't make them explode? Just run away. It's boring, but it'll take them a long time to catch up.
That's not fair. I had zombies too.
Yes, you did. Yes, you had zombies.